How's everybody doing? It's a great Friday afternoon. Next week from today, Christmas Day. It's been a rough fall, and of course, those of you that had to listen to the governor at 1:30, it's just the same old, and I don't think we expected anything different, especially with the holidays we've been talking about. It doesn't make it any easier, but I do have some good news, and I wanted to get on here and share with you because there's about 4 things that have happened in both the legislature, some of which we've been following at Stand Up Michigan for a very long time, and I thought that it would be good to be able to share this with you and have you share it with people throughout the weekend as well. So let's start out with the first one. How hard did we work on this Unlock Michigan campaign? We worked pretty hard. Now, I want to do a little bit of history here. When we first got through April or into April and the legislature said we're not going to extend the governor past April 30th, the Senate actually passed a bill that would have been a concurrent resolution that was specifically to repeal the 1945 law. As the governor decided to pivot to the 45 law from 76, after April 30th, the House, the legislature, ended up suing the governor, and that lawsuit went on through the summer. We encouraged the House at the time to pass the 1945 repeal and make the governor veto it in order to put her and or all of the Democratic legislators on record. Because it was in litigation at the time, and because if indeed they had passed it and she vetoed it, it would look as if they were bypassing the normal process, which is pass bills, she signs them, vetoes them, you override them, and that's how the legislature works. But of course, as we know, she'd pivoted to that 45 already, and they felt like if indeed they would have passed the bill to repeal it, she would have vetoed it, and it may have affected the court case. Hence, we moved forward and we worked on the 45 thing and said we will handle it ourselves as a citizens initiative petition drive. And of course we did. Thousands and thousands of you helped get that passed. And when we turned in 539,000 plus signatures on the 2nd of October, the same glorious day, the Supreme Court ruled that the law was unconstitutional. And that meant all the executive orders back to April 30th were null and void. And so were all the powers that went with it. It did not, however, restore the effect that it had on individual lives and liberties, or on the businesses that were shut down forever during that process. So we then encouraged, as we were going through October, House, we believe you should pass the Repeal 45 Act now, send it to the governor during the election time, and let her veto it. Let those legislators be on record, because now what they would be doing is vetoing an unconstitutional law. Who would veto an unconstitutional law? Well, our governor would, in the same way as our legislators would vote potentially that way. And our Secretary of State believes that she should take all the time that is necessary. And I'll get to that in a couple minutes. But bottom line is great news from early this morning. The House of Representatives passed the Repeal 1945 bill. That means that this is, and I'm just going to run through it together. We continue to push the Michigan Secretary of State to verify our signatures. As soon as the signatures are verified, the Michigan legislature is prepared to immediately repeal that law. The bad news is Secretary of State has stalled. I just want to cover this for just a second. So here is an example for you of our Secretary of State and how ignorant she is, or thinks we are, I should say. We have 154,000 vote different in an election where there were over 5 million votes that were cast. She doesn't believe there's any reason to look at signatures or verify signatures on mail-in ballots or on absentee ballots. Why bother? There probably aren't enough there to change the outcome, since it's 154,000 vote differential. It's pretty much what she's saying. There's just no reason to go through that kind of an audit. It's expensive, time-consuming, and what is it really going to matter in the end? It's how are you going to overcome 154,000 people who voted in that direction? That's what she said. Well, guess what we did? We got 200,000 additional signatures than are necessary to repeal the 1945 law. The same Secretary of State wrote a letter saying, we need to have time, ample resources, staff, in order for us to go through every signature and verify that indeed these signatures are valid. We need to make sure that you have ample signatures. We know that you say you have 200,000 too many, but you never know. We could find what? 1 out of 3 that's no good, and we'd still have enough, by the way. So what in the world is she possibly waiting for there? And yet with the presidential election and all the down ballot stuff, she has no reason to even look at the signatures. It's because on this side of the aisle, she could give a crap about who voted how it is as long as socialism prevails. And on this side, freedom and liberty and being able to show all the executive decisions that were made and orders by the governor that were illegal and now called unconstitutional, she does not want to even allow the citizens who she represents, that voted her into the office to do nothing but oversee. She oversees these, no reason to look at signatures, with nothing to see here. 200,000 extra over here. We need to take a year, maybe, to be able to look at those signatures. How sick is that? That's what we're dealing with. And so I know I'm excited, but I wanted to show you the hypocrisy of that office. And I want to make sure everybody points it out. But the House indeed passed it. So I want to move on here. There are 2 ways the law is going to be repealed: by the Citizens Initiative petition and by the legislature passing the bill that the governor would sign off on. The Michigan legislature, now both chambers being controlled by the Republicans, know that any action that they do on the topic will ultimately get a veto from the Democratic governor. This is why that they have not been able to take any viable action. We all knew that we could not rely on the normal legislative process to get rid of the law because the governor will shut it down. But the Citizens Petition Initiative allows us to bypass the governor altogether. However, we are in the lame duck portion of the Michigan legislative year, and this is the season at the end of the year where legislators try to get through as many and any bills that they could not normally get finalized. Right now, the Michigan legislators are working long hours to try and wrap up the year-end work. Once a new year hits, this piece of legislation would no longer be valid and would have to be reintroduced. So understand the bill was there. It just hasn't been gone to the floor. Now it has gone to the floor. The Michigan House and Senate members know their citizens are hurting and in need of relief, so they are taking a chance to try and move the bill through just in case the governor has a heart of gold and will sign the bill and overturn the law. This may feel like a mixed good news for you, but we want you to see that Michigan House and Senate members are actually trying to get her to act, and we're hoping, again, that we don't have to go through a legal process or wait to get this repeal off the books once and for all, to make sure that no governor ever again can utilize the 1945 law in order to shut down our individual rights and liberties. So it has passed the Senate, it passed the House, and now it will go to the governor for the desk. Another thing I wanted to put you on record for, not you, but the Democratic House. An entire party line vote, not a single Democrat voted to repeal a now considered unilaterally, entirely unconstitutional law from the books. What does that say about them as they head home? Unconstitutional laws, leave them on the books. Maybe somebody else will deem them constitutional in the future. Is that who we really want representing some of you in the state of Michigan? Those people need to hear from us and say, how could you have voted to keep on the books a law that the Constitution, that the Supreme Court of the state of Michigan deemed unconstitutional and did so much damage to constituents in your district? So that put them on record. I wish it had been before the election, but it wasn't. Number 2, I'm going to get up my banners here. Got to make sure I can change this up quick. So we have a press release that was done by Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey today. I'm just going to read from it, much easier than trying to paraphrase. Michigan citizens are at their limits. Non-COVID sicknesses are on the rise. Suicides and suicide attempts alarmingly reported. Depression and worse. Undetected and untreated depression is skyrocketing. All because we don't treat and trust Michigan citizens as adults. We're going to emerge from COVID. We will have vaccines for those who choose them. By the way, did you catch that word? For those that choose them is in the press release. We have amazingly improved treatments for those affected by the virus. But local businesses cannot inoculate themselves against shutdowns. There are no vaccines for bankruptcy. We're going to come out on the other side of the virus, but jobs will be eliminated, businesses will be closed, livelihoods will be destroyed, and lives will be lost because of Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Enough is enough. We need to open our economy. We need to punish the bad actors and not destroy jobs. The collateral damage is overwhelming and growing. Use targeted action, fine-tuned messages, loud, consistent, informing, inspiring, and encouraging. Now, we have been consistent and informing and inspiring and encouraging, but we've been encouraging you to basically have to put up with all of the crap that has been dealt by this governor. It is time for them to understand that they absolutely are representing you and me. No more blunt force instruments. The oft-threatened and fear-mongered Thanksgiving surge did not materialize, did it? He asks why. Because people are making good and safe, consistent, safe decisions. They are responding to messages and signals. We need to trust them. There is zero statistical data confirming causation of recent decreases in cases and hospitalization as a result of these unnecessarily punishing shutdowns. Stop with the blunt force weapons. People simply want to work. They want to send their kids to school. Just as many communities around our state and other states around our nation are proving safe. And we know how to do it. Inform, inspire, encourage, repeat. Gretchen Whitmer is the only thing standing in the way. Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey. Now, the reason that I'm sharing this with you is, number one, I was encouraged by this. Do I wish? And yes, he has told me many of these things. And when he's been on here, he has talked against her, some of the radio programs with Frank Beckman, Guy Gordon. He's been on with each of those, and he has stipulated a lot of these things. But in a press release, it is giving a different type of coverage. It is important for us to basically look at what is being said and understand that indeed they are finally reacting. Now, I believe that they are reacting in a lot of ways to we the people. I do not believe for 1 minute that these actions from the House in the Repeal 45 would have ever taken place if all of you had not been active in getting the signatures necessary. No doubt in my mind. I can't tell you, but I doubt that we would have seen this press release today. I believe that there are a lot of things that this legislature is now standing up for. The courage to stand up came from two places. It came from the pressure of we the people expecting them to do their jobs. And I think, secondly, it came from the courage that was given by the pressure we've given them to know that not only will we stand with them in making their decisions and maybe at times sticking their necks out, but it is about time they stuck their necks out for the people they represent. My feeling is, as a leader, and when I say that in all of my life, whether it was business owner, other associations, mayor, economic development, whatever I've been involved in, or Stand Up Michigan. If you stand up for the right thing, for the right reason, under the right principles, you don't have to worry about the reaction. That's the problem, because as people move from private life into government, they are often met with a number of things. They're met with the Lansing culture, like the swamp you see in Washington. We have lobbyists that are attending and coming in and expecting things in return for donations and contributions and for all kinds of things that a lot of them participate in. They look at re-election and they look at polls and they look at all of these things. They listen to their staff who are so sucked into, and I'm not saying all staff, but a lot of staff are there for House member after House member. As you know, they only have 6 years in the House. Therefore, 2 years, they get in there. They don't even know what's going on. They don't know who they can trust. They don't know who they can talk to. They got lobbyists coming in. They got money being thrown at them. They don't know if they want to get on this. They're told they can talk about that. Believe me, there's pressure that they get. They react to that pressure. Do I think it should be the way it is? No, I don't. Do I believe they should succumb to that pressure? No, I don't. But it's a reality of politics. It just is. But the difference is we have overcome that. We, the people, have stood up to now at a time and a place where they now recognize they have to listen to us, or we're not going to stop. We're going to come to them in their district. We're going to come to them in Lansing. We are going to call them out when necessary. And we're going to hold them up, prop them up, thank them, and give them the strength and courage to fight those that are against them when they stand up, despite what reactions may occur in the media or from the other side or from social media. But we are seeing a difference. Something is changing. There is a tide that is turning, but it doesn't mean that we're done. It doesn't mean we stop. It is telling you that the pressure you're given and the frustration that you're sharing is something that is absolutely positively having an influence on what is happening in Lansing. So I want to move now to yet another thing that has taken place, which I think is very encouraging, because I think what it does is, and I'm just going to pop this one up here because I think it's important for us to be able to know that Stand Up Michigan again is just getting started. We're going to power that while we go through the next two things. So everybody kind of wondered what this Senate concurrent resolution number 36 was. Had information on it a couple days ago, was talking to people to find out exactly what was going to be in here and what it meant. And then I've got the next part of it, which I'm going to read here. So this resolution offered is to comply with Article 4, Section 37 of the Constitution of the State of Michigan, 1963. Senator Bazan offered the following concurrent resolution to create a joint committee on intersession rules and regulations. Under the state constitution, the legislature may, by concurrent resolution, empower a joint committee by the legislature acting between sessions to suspend any rule or regulation that is promulgated by an administrative agency subsequent to the adjournment of the last preceding regular legislative session. Such suspension shall continue no longer than the end of the next regular legislative session. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Senate and the House of Representatives concurring that pursuant to Article 4, Section 37 of the State Constitution of 1963, there will be created a joint committee of intersession rules and regulations, which is empowered, acting between sessions, to suspend any rule or regulatory regulation promulgated by the administrative agency subsequent to the adjournment of the regular legislative session. Such suspension shall continue no longer than the end of the next regular session. That's what we talked about. The joint committee shall consist of 3 members of the Senate appointed by the Senate Majority Leader, 1 from the Senate Democratic Caucus recommended by the Senate Minority Leader, and 2 from the Senate Republican Caucus, and 3 members of the House of Representatives appointed by the Speaker of the House, 1 from the House Democratic Caucus recommended by the House Minority Leader, and 2 from the House Republican Caucus. The Senate Majority Leader shall designate the chairperson of the joint committee, and Speaker of the House shall designate the vice chairperson. Now you ask, why is it that they would have passed this? Well, because of this. Interestingly enough, again, it is Senate Bill number 1253, as passed by the House now as well, a bill to amend 1978 PA 368 entitled the Public Health Code. By amending Section 2253 and 2453, basically goes on, the people of the state of Michigan enact Section 2253, subject to Sections 2253A and exempt as otherwise provided in subsection 4. If the director determines that control of an epidemic is necessary to protect the public health, the director by emergency order may prohibit the gathering of persons for any purpose and may establish procedures to be followed during the epidemic to ensure continuation of the essential public health services and enforce the health laws. Emergency procedures are not limited to this code. Number 2, if an epidemic described in Section 1 involves avian influenza or another virus or disease that is or may be spread by contact with animals, the Department of Agricultural and Rural Development shall cooperate with and assist with the director in the director's response to the epidemic. Number 3, on request from the director, the Department of Agricultural and Rural Development shall assist the director in any review or update of the department's pandemic influenza plan under Section 5112. Number 4, if an emergency order issued under the section, the director shall not have or not do either of the following. A, restrict the capacity of persons at a place of worship. B, prohibit the exercise of a religious practice, including but not limited to the administration of a sacrament. Section 2253A, beginning November 15, 2020, an emergency order issued under Section 2253 is valid for the time period specified in the order or until the order has been in effect for 28 days, whichever is sooner. After 28 days, an emergency order issued under Section 2253 is not valid unless a request from the director to extend the order for the specific number of days is approved by resolution by both houses of the legislature. Section 2254, a business that, because of the epidemic involved in communicable disease, is required to cease its operation under the emergency ordered under Section 2253 or a rule promulgated by the department and that continues to operate is not in violation of the order or rule if a business complies with each health or safety precaution that is an order or rule requires of other businesses that is allowed to operate under the original rule or order. Section 2453, except as otherwise provided in subsections, if a local officer determines that control of the epidemic is necessary to protect the public health, the local health official may issue an emergency order to prohibit the gatherings of persons for any purpose and may establish procedures to be followed by persons, including a local government entity, during the epidemic to ensure continuation of essential health services, blah, blah, blah. Number 2, a local health department or department may provide for voluntary detention and treatment of individuals with hazardous communicable diseases in the manner prescribed in Section 5201 to 5210. In the emergency order issued under the section, a local health official shall not, again, it goes through, be able to stop the following of worship or religious practices. And 2454, a business because of an epidemic involving a communicable disease is required to cease its operation under the emergency order issue under Section 2453 or a regulation adopted by the local health department and that continues to operate is not in violation of the order or regulations if a business complies with each health and safety precaution that the order or regulation requires of another business that is allowed to operate under the order or regulation. Enacting Section 12253 Public Health Code is intended to be retroactive and applies to the emergency orders issued under Section 2253 and the Public Health Code of 1978 on or after November 15, 2020. So the reason that I know it's a lot, but I'm reading it to you. Basically what it's saying is so often in these lame duck sessions or during these shutdowns, meaning between now and January, the governor may very well say, guess what? Christmas came and we're going to lock you all down. Stay in your homes. We're not going to allow people, a certain number of people in your house and whatever it might be, like she attempted, but to do it through the health department. Once they have adjourned today or adjourned for, in case they come back Monday morning, I hear they might, once they've adjourned for the next 30 days or for this period of time until, I don't remember the exact date, in January, they come back. If any other regulations were attempted to be put on you as individuals or on your businesses beyond what has already been put into place, they would not have the authority to do that without getting the approval of this oversight committee. They are representing the legislature during this period of time. as you probably have seen in Washington and sometimes in Lansing, when there is a holiday break or a shutdown, the executive comes out and says, I've signed an executive order because we can't get the legislature to act because they're not here, but we have to take care of people's lives. Therefore, we're going to tell you this is what you have to do. Instead, they have put a committee in place that will be available during the entire break or shutdown, and any further things that they would try and do to any of us individually or to our businesses beyond what has already been put into place back in November and up through the December 20th. Anything new they would try and put up are going to require the legislative House and Senate to be able to concur. That is how it's supposed to work with the branches of government. So they basically have put her on notice and put the health department on notice that they do not have the authority to be able to issue new and additional guidelines and restrictions without this oversight committee that's being put into place, okaying any of those being done. And that would, as you can imagine, would require science and data and information of why an emergency exists in a certain area and why it doesn't in another. It's the same thing as we've been talking about. Does this solve all of our problems? It does not. With what the governor said today, again, it looks like they're opening bowling centers, but now they're saying only family units. What does that mean for leagues? Only 6 people? I don't know how many people they figure are on a lane. I think they haven't bowled in a while. That's what I'm thinking. But overall, you could basically have a group of people here and there. They have to figure out what that really means for them, but at least they're able to open for people to come in and begin to use their establishment. But guess what? They're able to come in there in a family unit as 6 people. They just can't eat while they're there. Does that make any sense? Yeah, I didn't think so. Restaurants. We talked about the 3-week pause. Hundreds of restaurants said, we're just going to wait out this pause. And then we got 12 more days, which was 2 weeks. And that ends Sunday. And now today she came on and she's moved it all the way to January the 15th. I don't know how many restaurants can make it until January 15th. And by the way, January is one of the worst months in restaurants. Always has been. Always will be. Now, I'm not saying if they open January 15th, everybody doesn't want to go to a restaurant. What I'm telling you is they're going to reopen after their busiest season, holidays and parties and people celebrating or people just coming in because they don't want to cook anymore. Just want to get out of the house. Walmart and the mall, no problem. Returns, I bet you they're going to be standing in line to return those gifts on the 26th. But don't go sit down and have a burger. I don't know how that's going to change. I don't know what they're going to do. I hope that more stand up because indeed, if we could get hundreds more to say, I simply cannot not pay my employees until January, I won't be in business any longer. I'm hoping that the federal court will request the Supreme Court to act literally before the end of the year and put a stop to this madness and realize that they've been singled out. But we can't control that. We can only control what each of them decide to do as far as standing up. And a lot more are every single day. It's encouraging, though, because so much of what we've said before is they're just, they're not standing up. They are beginning to show and grow a little bit of a stronger backbone from the legislature. The courts also have to respond to constitutional rights and liberties. The Constitution is clear that our rights don't go away during a pandemic. But the courts have said, yeah, boy, I know it doesn't say that, but we're talking about a virus here. They need to read the Constitution. They need to understand what it is their oath of office means. But you are making a difference. We are making a difference. Stand Up Michigan and other grassroots organizations across the state have called people to action, and you've responded. The legislature is absolutely beginning to act. We did elect a freshman class that is coming in January that I believe is even more conservative. I know the leadership is. I know a lot of the freshman class are. And that gives us more hope to identify those that attempt to break anywhere near the other side. We're going to be calling them out. It's the reason our goal now is to move to Stand Up Michigan regional and county chapters to be more effective, just like the Unlock Michigan campaign. We're going to be identifying as many of you that would want to get involved in your county level. If you have a small group that's already meeting, a grassroots group, whatever it is, it can be under the umbrella of Stand Up Michigan, meaning they tie into the resources, the email, the website, and other things. We want your input. We want what's working in your community, but we want to give you the power of all of us collectively and the voice of all of us collectively, and actually the energy of all of us when it's needed in your area and your community. We can show up and help you too. But in order to recover, it's going to take us identifying large groups of people in your county and community who are going to stand together, meet at churches, meet at places. They'll be called protests, or meet in your own home in smaller groups and begin to share the good news, the positive information, and the truthful information that helps us find our way forward, and to be able to review your situation in your county or district. Because as you know, some are very conservative. Some have very strong people in your area, and maybe you need to focus on curriculum in private schools. Maybe you need to focus on a handful of people that need to be replaced on your school board or your county commission or your township board or your city council or planning commission, whatever it might be. We want to help rise up people to serve there and know that there will be a large group of people that will back them, support them. We want a large group of people in each community that will represent Stand Up Michigan to go shop local, put stickers in business windows and let you know that we're going to come here on this Friday, and every other Friday or every other time when you meet, you're going to buy takeout from one of these restaurants in bulk and go eat it at this event so that you can support local business and help a recovery. Because remember, the solution comes from we the people, not the government. So we're going to be reaching out in January. We're putting regional people into place right now. We're then looking for county coordinators. If you are a leader in your community, wish to be a leader in Stand Up Michigan in your county, we're going to put you with a regional person. We're still identifying some areas. We want more regions than Unlock had. They had some broad range with lots of counties spread out too far. We want to have a little more regional pulse on those various areas and communities. So we believe we can literally in January begin having the regional and the county people put into place. We're going to be moving our email list, which again, they would be joining person to person and face-to-face relational meetings is what needs to take place. It's how grassroots works. We need to get off of, again, doing and moving from social media to just actions at a given time, and instead begin interacting in and within our community in order to be more effective. We appreciate so much all of you. We know that you want to get a breather from all of this. Unfortunately, those that are in lockdown, those that depend on this job, depend on being open, depend on everything involving the restaurant industry, the supplies and whatever, they have decisions to make. I'm calling on the judges out there and the Supreme Court of Michigan to intervene even during this next week and provide relief for our restaurants, for those that have been singled out as not essential enough, can't do things safely enough, while everyone around them is acting without the same precautions that they've taken. I don't believe they'll hold up in court down the road. I believe that they should stand together in huge numbers and say, we must be open, we must provide jobs for our people, and we must provide food to our community. We believe that that's important at Stand Up Michigan, as well as other things. The cinemas, again, look like they're going to open. There's less, again, restrictions, and we'll believe there'll be less restrictions going forward with this bill that's been passed. So I'm going to see if there's any other questions. Yes, next week, don't forget. So those of you that didn't know, I'm just going to point it out. How the Gretsch Stole Christmas and We took it back, is going to be a grassroots unity fest that is happening at the Capitol on the 23rd of December, next Wednesday evening. There are going to be people in costumes. There's going to be music. There's going to be hopefully carolers, and there's going to be some speeches. It's going to be a celebrate what Christmas is supposed to be. It's going to be giving all of us that have fought so hard all year long an opportunity to be able to celebrate both the story of Christmas and a little tongue-in-cheek as to what has transpired and what has been done to us by and through our elected officials. These three women need to be replaced quickly as possible. But before they're replaced, we need to neuter them. We need to make sure that we pass bills that put them on notice, that make those other Democrats take votes, and then Stand Up Michigan counties and communities are going to be showing up at county meetings. They're going to be showing up with their own local reps, especially in those districts, and say, guess what? Our counties, all of your districts voted for freedom when they voted for Trump. You might have been elected because of your name or because you were a third termer coming in or a second termer who expects a third. But we've already defeated third termers coming in. We did it this time, and we will do it again. You will have a primary opponent, and you will be defeated 2 years from now, and you might as well plan on it if you don't wake up and realize who it is you represent and that we have a very, very big voice. It's coming, people. As I've mentioned, we've awakened a sleeping giant. That sleeping giant's not going back to slumber. We are going to stay awake. Collectively and together, we're going to accomplish amazing things together. We're coming together both as a state and as a nation. There's only so much that we can do or continue to do in regards to the election and fraud issues. There's a lot more happening in Georgia as we speak, and they need to make sure that we get those 2 senators elected on January the 5th to maintain the Senate. That's the first line of defense. And obviously, we're not giving up until the very last electoral vote is counted in Washington in January. But in the meantime, you also have to focus on the spirit of the season. For those of us that have business, be thankful. For those of us that have family around you, be appreciative and thankful. For those of you that are Christians, be prayerful. Pray for those around you. And for those of you that aren't Christians yet, I'd ask you to look and understand and see where our hope and where our faith comes from. Where the founding fathers, where the principles of our country came from. And I'd ask you, especially in this season, to give thanks for all that we are living in the greatest country on earth, with the people that have the most amazing spirit, as I've talked to you about many times. I'll probably join you over the holidays for sure, give you updates and provide you with more truthful and up-to-date information. But for now, I want to let you go. It's going to be less than 40 minutes. I want you to make sure that you celebrate the time with your family a week from now. Be thanking your own reps if indeed they were part of the votes that happened here. Give them credit where credit is due, regardless of what we thought of before, because really what is in the past is in the past. I'm not saying we agree. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have done more. I'm not saying we should have fought in a different way. But honestly, it is water under the bridge. We are holding them accountable today. We've been putting them on record in the past, and we will continue to do so with an effort and a plan that we have going forward. Together, we're going to accomplish much. And again, if you're interested, standupmichigan.com. Make sure you sign up for the email list. Make sure that you join Locals, which is free for 12 months. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you see all of this. Print the PDF. All of those are on the homepage of the website when you go. And if you want to email me, email Ron A. at standupmichigan.com. I don't know whether I have a banner with that or not. I'm asking you to go to Ron A. at standupmichigan.com. I'll put it in this comment section for you to be able to send an email to me if you're interested in being a leader or hosting events in your county so that we can connect you in January. We'll have a lot more about this, a lot more details as we get over into the holidays. But if indeed you already have a group and you want to be a part of Stand Up Michigan regionally and through your county, send me an email and let me know. We'll add you to that list, and we'll be reaching out with you in the near future. So I want you to have a great Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Sharon. Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you. Have a great evening, a great Friday, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great day.